And we're live. Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, what's up?
Nothing much. We're seems like we're in the thick of fall now.
Yeah. I meant to ask you this off air. Is Colony on fire right now? Like, what's going on out there? Because it's very smoky.
Right. I noticed this morning when I pulled up to the gym, but I honestly couldn't tell if it was like my car because I had the heat on. And sometimes
Yeah.
it has that weird like smell, but yeah, it seemed like it was a little smoky
Yeah.
overall.
That happened to me. I woke up. I opened up the balcony window just to let some fresh air in here, and then I got done brushing my teeth and everything, and I'm like, wait a minute, is like my fan on fire? What did I do just
Right.
now? And then I looked outside. I'm like, it looks very like hazy, but yet
Mm-hmm.
there's people playing tennis out there. I don't know. Maybe Canada's on fire again. We just don't know it.
Right. Yeah, honestly. Or
Isn't that
wasn't there I feel like I saw, I mean, I don't think it's this, but I feel like there was like a almost a forest-y fire in Prospect Park in the
Oh,
city.
okay.
But I mean, I don't think that's what this is. But,
Yeah. Maybe it's
anything
just
can happen at this
drifting.
point. Yeah, things are drying up at a weird rate, weather fluctuations, I guess.
Yeah, we have wet days, dry days, cold days, 80-degree days, which is odd now. Yeah, that could be it. Last night there were a lot of fire trucks going back and
Hmm.
forth out here. So maybe it's something that happened last night, which is funny. I started watching that Chernobyl show.
Mm.
It's only 5 episodes last night, and like when stuff was going down in the show, timed up perfectly to the fire trucks outside, and I was just watching it. I'm like, man, I'm really in it right now. And I looked
Yeah,
over and I could see the lights and stuff going down. So yeah, all right. I'm glad it's not. Every time something like that happens, I'm like, is it happening here? And no one has sounded the alarm yet. What's going on? But it's
right.
kind of funny because even though the thought popped up in my head, what if it's the building? I still went on my merry way. I cut my hair. I took a shower. I'm like, I'll find out, right? I'll find out eventually if something's going on. And if the alarm went off, I don't know if I would have gone outside because that happens all the time. And, then you're stuck outside. They won't let you back in the building. So when the alarm goes off over here, I don't leave anymore, you know? So I don't know. It's probably not a good thing, right?
Well, it's like when you're watching these shows and things happen and you see the people who stick around or aren't moving with that much urgency, and you're like, that can't be real. If I was there and
Yeah.
then these things happen, and you're like, all right, maybe I would
Oh,
have.
yeah. That was the whole beginning of the show. They're like the reactor blew, and they're like impossible. No, even though people are melting left and right, and they're like, nah, it's just the fire. Like, and really, the show is terrifying.
Yeah.
I remember when they first announced it, I thought it was going to be like a creature type show, but it didn't. Instead, it's just real historical history
Yeah, it's
that
the
like
actual thing. Yeah.
the world almost ended, and it's terrifying.
Mm.
Uh, and then just I don't know how accurate it is. I got to look into that after. I don't want to ruin anything somehow for myself until the last episode. But like, apparently, they had 15 other nuclear power plants that would also have this same problem that they had with this one. And people are still like, no, it can't be that. Look at the paper, And then
Right.
they're like, well, the paper's been redacted. 2 pages are missing because the KGB took it out because they don't want Russia to look bad. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's just crazy, and all the levels of bureaucracy they have just to figure out if it's real or not.
Right.
It's wild. We are strange creatures, aren't we? Uh, I feel like out in the forest is on fire. The bears and the deers are like, "Hey, let's run that way." And
Yeah. Very
meanwhile,
simple.
human beings are like, "Hold on now, like maybe it's crazy." But then again, the bear and the deer have no vested interest in the forest. They're just like, we just live here. We're getting out.
Yeah.
Vested interest is our life, not money, fame, power, all that stuff.
Hmm.
It's crazy. Anyways, let's talk about a couple things that have happened recently in our own collective news. A few weeks ago in Barbell Club, you took on a Dmitry Klokov complex, and this was tons of exercises within the complex. You went really, really heavy on it, maybe heavier than you thought. I don't know what you had in your head on what you were going to get to, And you said after you were done with it that it fried your nervous system. So let's kind of unpack this a little bit. What was how'd you find it, and what made you want to do it?
Yeah, I think the actual reel was posted by Squat University.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think this is like named after him or anything, but it was just one of the complexes that he was doing in this video, and it's a clean pull, a full clean, then a paused front squat. I think we like clocked the pause around like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
After that, it is a push press and then a jerk with a pause in the dip for again like 2 to 3 seconds. And that's the
Yeah.
full complex.
All without letting go of the bar. It's just on you, or you're holding on to it.
And I think he did
Dmitry
like,
loves those pauses.
yeah, I think he did like over 400 pounds on it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I mean, and hey, you got close to 200 pounds. You hit 85 kilos. Is that what you were expecting to happen? How far do you think you'd get in terms of weights?
Yeah, I knew that I would get as far as the push press would take me. Um, I don't think that I would really have much trouble with anything else. Potentially also the pause and the jerk, but I feel like once I do something overhead, re-racking and getting ready for another jerk is almost more comfortable for me than just one straight up jerk. And in the legs, everything before I know would be completely fine. Um, but yeah, the push press was really the limiter. So I was thinking probably around what I got, like 80, 85.
Yeah. And you had some battles with the push press, which that push press right in the thick of things is gnarly.
Right.
Just even being there in general. Of course, it should come before the jerk, because if it was the last exercise, then everyone would just kind of like, you wouldn't fight for the push press as much.
Yeah.
It'd just be an easy throwaway. So
Hmm.
the placement of it was really, really cool. Um, and then that's what you thought would be the toughest part. I was really glad that when I think on 80 and 85, you missed your first attempt at the push press, but you held on to it and went for it again.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think that still counts.
I mean, at that point, I knew that it's interesting because I feel like that's how I always miss my push presses as well.
Hmm.
Is that it's very controlled still. I just lose it at the very last second, or like I can feel the minor thing that threw me off course, but I know when I have it. So all
Yeah,
of those were miss the first attempt at it and then kind of take a sec and then go for it again because it's coming back straight down on me. And again,
yeah.
it's a push press, so it's not terribly heavy. So I can kind of control it on the way back down and kind of refocus there.
And it's good that you held on to it. I think a lot of people, their first inclination, once it gets up past your eyes and you can't push it anymore, would be to push it away and be like, well, the set's done. But I think there's a lot of value on holding on to it and going again. And then you got it. It's not essentially you had an extra rep within
Yeah.
the complex, just a practice swing at the push press.
And I like it in the form of a complex as well. I think I do a lot better on complexes because once you get a certain portion of it done already, you want to fight more for the rest of it. You don't
Yeah.
want to miss that last movement or that second to last movement when you feel like I've already done so much work to get here. I don't want to redo this weight. So I'm going to try to finish it off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the finish line's right there. I titled this episode "Keep Your Eyes on the Finish Line," which that means when things get hard, to keep pursuing the thing that was your goal, or and to push through the challenges. Do you think the front squat really affected that push press? That if there wasn't a pause, or if it was a regular front squat, like that front squat had to have played a role in the back half of the complex.
Right. I think overall, I have a high level of comfortability with the front squat, and the pause doesn't really add too much on its own in this complex for sure. Um, Especially as you're adding weight. once you get to those last few sets, you really start to feel it on your legs, and just the the reset is a lot less dynamic than it would be if you just stood up a clean. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to re-brace, get everything settled, make sure you stay braced at the pause of the front squat, and then try to pop up as fast as possible to kind of get like a good rebound so that you're set correctly for a push press. So it definitely works you there.
Yeah. And I mean, it should be noted that your front squat 1 rep max of 300 pounds, it was done with a pause at the bottom. Not necessarily on purpose. We were doing regular front squats. You just went down there and stopped. So you can pause front squat 137 kilos, and this was 85. So
Right.
that's gotta. I don't know if you were thinking about that in the moment. I'm like, oh, my, this kind of is like I can do way more than this. I don't know if you were thinking about that, if that helped at all.
Yeah, the beginning of the complex was super easy to me. Even walking up, I was feeling like each time maybe a little bit nervous, I guess you could say, just thinking about the previous one that I had done. But
Mhm.
as soon as I did the clean pull, like the reminder came in where I was like, oh, this is extremely light in terms of the first half of this complex, where the clean pull, the clean, and the front squat, I can do these weights like nothing. It's going to be fighting through that last half.
Yeah, it's good to have that complex. And I was trying to think about like dissecting the complex on like there's got to be a reason each piece is there, right? Like it's not just like in a just a random assortment of exercises. So you've got the clean deadlift or the clean pull, and it was a deadlift where you didn't stand all the way up, like you didn't
Right.
open the hips. You just kind of stay over, pull to about the mid thigh, bring it back down. I would assume that's just to kind of set body position and tax the grip and the legs a little bit to possibly make that clean a little harder. That'd be my guess. Why do you think the clean deadlift is there?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a primer in the way of like the shankle, the pulls before you go for the hang clean.
Practice swings.
Right, because it's just, especially the way that you're pulling, it's right before you kind of give that violent hip extension in your clean. So it's kind of
Yep.
just getting you ready for that.
Yep. And then the clean is just the clean. We got to do
Yep.
one. So and it's maybe a little harder because you just did that deadlift before. It's kind of like doing like a sneaky double where one of them you just don't turn over on and
Yep.
don't squat under it. It's just a double on the pull. Then you hit the clean, you stand up with it, and now you have to do the front squat. And then my assumption would be the front squat is there ultimately for the jerk. Like if we're just doing a single clean and jerk, we're going to have rough cleans, we're going to have really heavy or tired cleans. So we're going to do this front squat to make the overhead stuff harder and to just tax the legs a little bit. I don't think it's definitely not there in like a strength like component because you're going to do regular front squats on your own, right?
Yep.
Way heavier. So that would be my guess on why it's there. It's just to tax the legs in a little insidious way and to kind of simulate a rough clean where you didn't catch the bounce and you had to grind it up a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Um, yeah. 100%. I think the front squat is just there. And typically in a complex, when I see like a front squat in the middle, it goes right before the jerks or something just to make it a lot harder, especially if
Yeah.
you have like a good clean. The front squat kind of almost negates that, where you can't use your good clean because after that clean, you have to do something else before you can go right into that jerk.
Yeah. The reaction to front squats in the middle of a complex like that should be, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
because the complex itself is taking away strengths and exposing weaknesses. And it's like if you're like you just said, if you're really good at the clean, the bounce, it really doesn't matter on
Hmm.
this. You're gonna get, you know, pushed on the front squat. And if we look at it now within the context of the complex, we've done 2 pulls and 2 squats already, and we're going to go overhead twice. So
Yeah.
it all kind of matches like 2 pulls, 2 fronts, 2 squats, and then 2 overheads. And the overheads, Everything's just slightly different, but those are like the common themes within the complex. And then we go overhead for the push press. The push press, just raw upper body strength on tired legs and tired body, you know. And I think a little bit of grit and mentality is in there too. You got to really want to do this work now and get through that push press. And like we said earlier, if you get through the push press, it's way more valuable to have it placed here than have it at the end. So it's not a throwaway. You have to try because everybody wants to get to the jerk. Not getting to the jerk is a complete failure, you know, of the whole thing. Wow.
Yeah,
What do you
and
think about push press?
I think it's, at least for me, because it's harder. I think it shouldn't go at the end, because if it was at the end, my mind would already know that this is the hardest part, and I would go, I basically got it, you know.
Yeah.
Even if I missed the push press, I basically did everything else. But because there's something after the push press, you have to get past that.
Yep. And the nice thing is, we have two different types of dips. So we had, and again, like looking at like the overall themes of the complex, 2 pulls, 2 squats, 2 overheads. We had one pull that kind of had a pause in it because we have to pause and then go back down. Then we had a normal pull where we finished a turnover. And then within the pull on the clean, we have a normal squat, hopefully standing up. Then we have a pause squat. Then for the push press, we have a normal dip and drive, no pauses. But now on the jerk, we have a pause dip for the second overhead. Like there's a lot of like cool things going on in this complex. Maybe one day we'll be able to get Dmitry Klokov on the podcast and talk to him about it. But on the pause, now you, just like we talked about for the clean, you didn't get to use your fast rebound to help you with the push press on the clean. You don't get to use your awesome dip and drive for the jerk, which would make the jerk way easier because you already had the opportunity to use a good dip and drive on the push press.
Yeah.
So it's really great programming on what every piece makes you do, and you can definitely tell it's not random. Like there's just the themes that are going on here and what you're getting out of it. On the pause dip, that's really hard ask, I think, at the end of the complex. Even for you, like that was the easy part. But on the outside looking in, I think you pushed way harder on the drive portion of that jerk than you would have if it was just a normal one.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, and you really have to be, I guess you got to say, like, careful as you go down, because you know that every part of your body is feeling it at this point. So you don't want to be like quaking at the bottom of your dip. So you really have to take in that deep breath and kind of sit on your whole foot, 100% on your whole foot for this, and kind of just, all right, all we can do now is essentially jump right now and hope for the best.
And put a lot of effort into the bar with your legs. Like for you, you have the athleticism and the speed that if it was a normal dip and drive, and even if you're tired, you might be able just to get the bar going with a fast turnaround and then just move your feet and maybe even let your upper body take over a little bit and start to press. And you're still going to slide under it, you know. But with this, the effort you had to use with your legs, which is probably like the effort that you should be looking for on every jerk, instead of allowing yourself just to drop really, really quickly.
Right.
I think it exposes that. And it didn't expose it for you in a bad way because you didn't miss any of the jerks, which was great. It was a great jerk day. You know, it was just that middle part on the push press that was difficult. But I don't know. That's kind of what stands out to me on that pause there. And I'll also say you did not double dip. Like there wasn't a pause and then getting it going. You did a really good job of just bam, like coming right up out of the bottom, which is what you want.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of why I chose that complex overall too to do, because I know that those elements all help me. I know that my legs are fairly strong when it comes to clean and jerk, so having the beginning of the complex as it was, I can kind of just breeze through that. The hard part is the push press and the jerk for me. And because I do a push jerk or a push jerk. The push press only helps me positioning wise as well.
Yep.
And then same thing for the pause push jerk where, I just have to sit and do what I do. And because I just did a very heavy, for me, push press right before it, I know that I have to have that bar going straight up and get my head through as much as I can. So I think it helped with the jerk as well.
Yeah. The further we move throughout the complex, the more there isn't any room for error. And you were able to overcome error on the push press just because of the nature of the exercise. But the jerk would be a little bit trickier, especially with the style of jerk that you're doing. Now, if you were doing a split jerk, a little more room for error. You might catch it off balance, but maybe you can walk your feet around and save it. On the push jerk is if it's a little too far forward, it's gonna go,
Right.
unless you can like somehow get your feet underneath it and start to walk. But you ever notice how on a push jerk, when you try to save it like a split jerk, your torso and upper body just start to like,
Oh yeah.
like just wave. So it's just a funny thing. You said that after you were done with the complex, and we were moving on to our next piece in class, your nervous system was shot. I know what that feels like, but describe that feeling. And when was the last time you felt that? Like that we did something where you're like, whoa, like it's not just my muscles or lungs or anything. It's like I can literally feel like my whole body vibrating and my I'm shot, from a sensory input perspective.
Yeah, it's exactly that where, the whole body is kind of just shaking. And in a complex like this, even though, like I say, the beginning part is fairly easy for me, I'm using so much of my legs at the beginning. In the pauses, even at the moment, if they feel fine, it's the aggregate of everything towards the end and going maximal essentially with my push press. And then after a maximal lift, pausing and trying to stay control into another jerk. Yeah, it's everything that's getting used to its full level. Um, so it's like complete emptying of the tank. It's like it's really like a max out day when we go for competition lifts and we're going for PRs in both the snatch and the clean and jerk. By the end, you're completely spent. Um, or like when we do another complex and we're going really heavy on it, by the end, you know that you're using everything up and there's not much left.
Yeah. Shanko Complex is coming back soon. I can't wait. It's a fun one. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun one. I think so. It's fun one to do. Fun one to watch. This is kind of making me think about future programming. Maybe we need more complexes in our life in Barbell Club. We I would say last year or this current year. Oh, am I still here?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I think the internet's just being. Can you still hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, cool. I think this year we did an incredible amount of just straight lifting. I mean, like, if you think about the programming from the January to the Arnold, then the Arnold to the regional, then over the summer and stuff, we kind of just did like lots of doubles and singles and stuff like that. It's just maybe there was a pause here and there, but I don't know. Am I remembering this wrong? Did we do anything else other than that?
No, not necessarily. But I think that's kind of what we asked for, just
Mhm.
because I feel like across the whole club, maybe there were more competitions overall throughout the year. So we
Yeah.
really wanted to focus on, from the floor hitting the lifts. But,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I think our variation list was very, very low this year.
right.
So
Because
I
I
think,
think we wanted to keep Fridays as like at least Friday, let's hit just lifts.
yeah, Friday was safe. It's
Yeah.
a safe place Friday. All right. Well, yeah, I think I think this is a good argument for more complexes, or at least one day of complexes. Not all the time, but like maybe we should start dabbling a little more into some of these variations. With stuff like this, and especially now in the off season is a good time to do it, which we have been doing it. Most of you guys are doing some sort of a complex, but I don't know going into the season next year. I have already been thinking, maybe we should explore just some of the more traditional hangs again. Typically now these days when we go to the hang, we default heavily to the low hang. The low hang is super popular, but we haven't spent a lot of time in a while with the high hang. And I've noticed that some of you guys have gotten worse at the high hang. And it's like not the favorite. But if you remember way back, we used to be really good at it. So
Mhm.
it's like, well, what has changed? We just do it a lot less. And it's like, some of you guys like will struggle with the high hang now, but it's like if you look back, we used to have a ton of videos of you guys doing it and you never struggled with it in the way you do now. And what it's doing is when we do the high hang, it's exposing things that we also see on your full lift. And it's hard and you don't like it now because the success rate is down. So
Right.
I don't, does that make sense on like that? Well, then that means we've been spending too long at the beginning parts of the pull and maybe not enough on the back halves of the pull.
Right. Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. Um, I know for me, the high hang was always the easiest because I could just use hip drive
Yeah.
and I didn't have to worry about my beginning parts of the pull ruining it. So yeah, maybe it is that where it kind of flipped because we're so much better at from the floor now and low hang that maybe we're using that to cover weaknesses as we get above the knee.
Yeah.
Um,
Like it
so yeah.
used to be, I would see so many of you guys with not the best break off the floor, or the bar would get away from you right off the floor and we're on the toes and stuff like that. So we'd work below the knee, pauses off the floor, low hangs, stuff like that, slow pulls. We did a ton of that type of stuff. And you guys have gotten, as a group, way better at it. But then now we might have a thing where, all right, you're coming through too early. You're pushing your hips forward into the bar. And now we've put so much focus on the beginning half of the pull, and now the back half of the pull, which is super important as well, everyone's gotten a little too hippie with it for some
Mm,
reason.
yeah.
And it could be because now the weights are heavier. We've gotten better at pulling those heavier weights, but now we've lost strength at the back end, and now we have to just figure it out. And now when we go to isolate it, hey, today we're going to work from the high hang, those same problems creep up when we start to go heavy. Immediately, instead of driving up, you're pushing your hips forward. And what do we see when we go in competition really heavy or max out? You have a great pull off the floor, then you throw your hips into it and jump forward 5 feet.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's just it's not as fun when that problem is exposed when you're isolated right from the hip, because it's such a short range of motion. You dip, you go, failure. You
Yeah.
dip, you go, failure. Versus if you pull from the floor, ooh, I got a chance at it. And then more often than not, you make it because you jump forward and you just figure it out. You guys are athletic. But again, there's no time to do that or to adjust when it's from the hip go and you blew it already, or even right off of the dip, you blew it. You
Mhm.
started to dip and you shifted forward. Bam, you were done already. So I do think, maybe we got to get in, we got to do some of that stuff again. I think maybe working high hang, like classic positions, high hang and knee. Remember when we used to do that every day? Or it used to be like a day dedicated to each of those?
Yep.
Yep, you do. You do. So, and maybe we dedicate a day to each of those, but have complex elements added in. Like we could do, uh, for example, panda pulls from the high hang, and then a high hang snatch, and then maybe some snatch bounces. I always like snatch bounces for high hang. That's a nice little complex there. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, overall, even though they're hard, I think for me the point of a complex is really trying to get as close to my regular one rep max in a lift as possible. because if you get to a meet and your opener is essentially the same number as you got in a complex, your mindset around that number is completely different. Or if
Oh yeah,
it's even if it's a 5 kilo, 10 kilo difference, you think I did 6 reps at just below this weight. I should be able to do one from the floor. So yeah.
exactly. That's why we do so many of these things we do. The confidence boost, or if you think back to all of our positions, we have maxes and totals on all of them. Remember way back I showed you the spreadsheet that showed, if your maxes and total for the high hang, for the knee, for the low hang are all getting to 100% of your regular from the floor, we've already predicted you're probably due for a PR from the floor
Right.
if you haven't hit it already. And some of you guys have gotten some of your lifts where they're 101 or 2% of your max from the floor. So we can use that data to be like, all right, if Miguel's lifting from the mid thigh is 105% of his lifts from the floor, does he need to work on that one anymore? But if you're lifting from the knee or just below the knee is 75% of your lift from the floor, there's the problem. Like
Right.
like we should get that one stronger. Maybe we should do hang complexes or hang lifts pausing at the knee and then go and get that stronger. So it's just they're good ways to boost confidence and good ways to kind of evaluate where you're at overall.
Yep.
Now, I have not updated that spreadsheet in quite some time. I need to bust that out again. That should be a goal in 2025. I wish I could make, maybe one of you guys can help me do this, a living spreadsheet where it's like on Google and you can be shared on it and see it live update and you can check it too. Like, okay, what this way, the goal with that would be if it's a day where, let's say it's a Friday and you get to pick your poison, what position are you going to work on today? Are you going to work from the mid thigh and maybe you're going to pursue PRs and breaking a total on that? Like we've done that plenty of times and everybody's doing something different in the room. You can look at that spreadsheet and be like, all right, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. And look at that percentage. I'm in the red on, the low hang, which that's probably not the case, but I'm on the red on that. I should work on that today.
Yeah.
Or, of course, there's the element of like, what do you want to do today? If whatever you feel like doing today, maybe you don't want to have to work from the low hang, but you have a lot more fun working from the mid thigh. That's also the right. It's funny how like yes and yes, they're also whatever motivates you to do work is the
Yeah.
right answer probably. But what do you think? Is there a way to make a live spreadsheet? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I mean, just like a shared Google Sheets.
Uh, shared Google
Yeah.
Sheets.
You'll have the same way that you probably have it currently, where it has the calculations. You just have to plug in the numbers and it'll automatically update. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, the issue is just sharing it with everyone and hoping that people don't mess it up completely.
Well, I could also make it so that I'm the only one that can edit it. That probably helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you think it works to have everyone's data on one spreadsheet or have them private? That way, all right, you go there, you can see, all right, Miguel has an 80% on the high hang total. I have a 75%. I'm gonna try to beat Miguel on percentage wise. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the last time you shared my numbers in the chat anyway, because
I did.
my hang from the knee I think was the lowest. So yeah,
That was great. I
I'm
remember
sure
that.
that's fine.
Okay, all right, yeah. I remember that moment well. That was fun. Uh, a recent moment in barbell club that it happened right before John left. So John Serrano moved away. Yeah, once he settles into a gym, he might start lifting again. But remember that day where I think you have to remind me. I think I gave him 90 on the clean and jerks, and I gave you like 85 or 88 and it took you a little bit to notice that his weights were heavier than your weights for like the first time. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that the weight 85 and 90?
I think it was maybe it was closer, like 87, 88, and 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I knew that our maxes were essentially the same, like the actual ones. Of course, we always do the theoretical and all that, but yeah, when you're doing your warm ups, you start to realize that, oh, our numbers are starting to differ a little bit. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that was fun because the first half of your warm ups were pretty much the same,
yeah,
and then 87 or 88, he made the jump to 90, and you had your weight on there, and then I don't know if it was the first set that you noticed, and all of a sudden you like stopped the whole class. You're like, wait a minute, because
yeah,
for weeks on end, I think his weights were either slightly lower or it was the exact same weight. You guys were doing the same weight and then maybe you missed a class the week before, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna move Miguel here, because like sometimes I do that because like I don't know what type of a day it is. Is this going to be a rough day, an easy day? And I make decisions based on like, well, what's best for making lifts, you know. Did you end up going up to 90? Did you change it or did you
no,
keep the
no,
same?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was fun. I like it when you guys notice what everybody else is doing, and then every now and then a problem seeps up. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, they're not supposed to be ahead of me.
Yeah, because I mean, even different weight classes and everyone's lifting different weights, everyone's percentages are essentially the same. So you know the gap that you and somebody else should have.
I like that should have.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What did if you can remember back, did that motivate you to push harder on your sets and like smoke those clean and jerks?
Well, I think it was kind of like a all right, let's wait and see type of
Mm-hmm.
deal. Because yeah, our numbers were very similar for clean and jerk, and it was kind of just like, all right, let's see how it gets when we actually get to those PR weights.
Yeah. And he was chasing you for a while. It
Hmm.
took him a little bit to get his clean and jerk up to where yours was. And he's always, for the most part, right behind you on the strip. So yeah, and that was the first time we did that. So there was the notice, the instant outrage, and then we got right back into training.
Yeah,
I know he enjoyed it too. He was laughing. Fun times, fun times.
yeah,
And now we are in the off season. Everyone is getting jacked. We're doing a lot of dumbbell exercises, new exercises that we don't do that often, like Bulgarian split squats, split stance presses with dumbbells, death marches. How do you think this has been going?
good. I think it's exactly what we need for an off-season program. Um,
Mhm.
Attendance has been spotty,
It
but
has,
you know,
as is expected during this time of year and the off season.
right. But no, they're definitely when I'm in there, I feel them 100%. Even if I
Mhm.
can only make it in one day a week, I feel that one day for sure.
Yeah.
No matter what the work is. So yeah, I think it'll pay off.
Yeah, it's something different. You guys are really good. I like, okay, we're only going to do snatch and clean jerk once a week. I think with the amount that we do throughout the year, you guys are like mentally and physically ready for that. On like, okay, I'm okay with not having to snatch 4 times or 3 times a week, and all of the ups and downs, the highs and lows that come with that, and or just go through the physical pain of the clean jerk. Like the clean jerk, after a while, it beats you down. It starts to suck a little bit.
Yeah.
So, just do you find that your body and mind heal a little bit during this time, where it's like, all right, we're just going to do bench press, we're going to do some deadlifts, and you don't have to turn the bar over.
Yeah, definitely. Even when you told us that, we were gonna do one day still of snatch and clean and jerk, I was honestly fine if we weren't gonna have that day. I think it's completely needed. And it's almost fun to take the break from it completely and kind of do like this bodybuilding stuff and just get, legs a little bit stronger, arms a little bit stronger, and see what you can come back with day one and just see how different elements feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I floated out there when I spoke to each of you on just like what would you like to see in the off-season programming. It's good to get feedback from the group. It's a little different than what we did last year. Last year we did a ton of barbell volume 5 sets of 5 plus 5 warm-up sets. So essentially it was 10 sets of 5 and everything. This time we're shifting more towards dumbbells, which means each arm has to work on its own to do a lot of these things, hoping for some symmetry correction and more even muscle development. But what I did float the idea, I think, to each of you on like, what if we didn't snatch and clean and jerk at all? And not everybody was in favor of that. So that's why I kept it in for one day. Because I think if you remember when I spoke to you specifically, you were the first person I talked to about all of it. If you remember, I was thinking about maybe we just don't do it at all.
Right.
Just because I mean, not only do you guys get burnt out from it, and would you maybe like to have it just once or none per week? I also get it's like, hey, after the thing that I really like about this off season is when we get back into it fully, I'll be seeing you guys with more fresher eyes. Because like
Right.
after a while, it's like, not that I'm not looking for errors that you're doing, but after a while, when you see the same thing over and over again, you start to get used to it. So if I haven't seen Miguel snatch in 10 weeks, oh, it's like I'm seeing a whole new athlete. I'm seeing something, things that maybe I was seeing before. Or when we get into the year, there are things that maybe I'll want one of you guys to change or fix, but there's always like a reason why we can't do it. Like, all right,
Right. Exactly.
you didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you're tired, the week, all these things. And then it's like after week of like not you guys fighting like a change or to make a tweak. It's just it's like, all right, this is just how it's going to be, like or you have a heavy work day always before this day. um but we still have things to do, we still have to push the numbers, and it always works out in the end. But does that make sense what I'm saying? It's like at some point I have to lay down my sword on some things that not you specifically, but the athlete in general will refuse to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's the cycle of, once we get into the new year and February comes around and we've got the Arnold or something else, and then the regional, and then maybe another regional, and then states, and then you can't really change anything because you're so worried about what that change will do.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have enough time in that 3-ish month period, or even shorter in some cases. So I think this also gives us a chance of restarting and kind of going where our body might be more comfortable. Where, when January comes around and we're back to like a normal schedule, let's say, I may just pick up the bar and my grip is different or something, but it's right where we want it, because I don't have that built in, like, oh, 3 times a week, every time I pick up the bar, it's been like this. So I have
Yeah.
to keep it like this. You kind of
And
forget. Yeah.
it's like that because something didn't feel right or there was a little tweak. So that's why you changed it. And then even when the tweak is gone, the change is already ingrained with like a million reps.
Right.
And now if we go to change it, you're like, well, it feels awful. And if we change it now, well, there's a meet next month and we're going to Columbus, Ohio, and you paid a lot of money to do this meet, and there's pressure on this meet. And the last thing I want you to feel is unprepared when you go to
Yeah.
stand on that stage. So what I try to do then is when I run into things, I'm like, okay, Miguel won't change this, or he doesn't want to change this. He's an adult. I'll make recommendations. We'll try to tweak things. And I'm just using you as an example. This is everybody. This is everybody in the entire club. I try to make the corrections through the programming. We're going to do this drill. We're going to do this complex. We're going to pursue these strength exercises to try to iron out the things that I'm seeing just that way. And that works. You can fix things through programming. Or when like weird things pop up in the warm up, you're like, wow, we're doing a lot of dead bugs, or we're doing this thing, that thing. Well, that's just me trying to fix this shoulder that's jacked up on half of you or one of you. Like, I don't know, does that make sense? Like just trying
Yeah.
to all right, I couldn't get it that way or all the way. then I'm going to try to do it this way where you're forced into the box essentially.
Yeah.
We're doing push presses because now if I make the change on your dip and drive on the push press, you might listen more.
Hmm.
Versus if it's on the jerk, this is how you're comfortable doing the jerk. And now you're thinking about it, and now you're not locking it out. It feels weird. You're walking around because you were trying to make that correction. I'm hoping if we do a million sets of 5 on the push press, it will carry over into the jerk.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it's like a chess game, right? And it's not necessarily me versus all of you. We're still working together, but these are the things that I have to think about, on like everything we've talked about. Like we're rolling into it with fresh everything into the new year, but after a little while, a certain thing is going to take hold, and that's kind of you for the year.
Yeah.
And as we go into competitions, this is it's not a it's not a class where we could, all right, you know what, Miguel, for the next 3 weeks we're going to keep it at 60% and iron this out. You got big meets and big goals on the schedule, where you still have to be able to feel strong and confident when we put 90 on the bar. And the way to do that is to work at a much higher percentage. So it's not like a class, not like a CrossFit class. We're like, hey, this is what we're going to do for half the year, and it'll be okay because those people aren't going to compete. It's a different type of animal.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more strategies on how to tame it, so to say, tame this lion. And I don't know. I think for the most part, it works. It's a nice melting pot of everything, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything you think that that doesn't work with that from what you've experienced? Like we got
No,
states coming up, and I'm like, Miguel, we're going to keep it super light, and we're going to iron out this part of your pull and blah blah blah. Like,
it depends. I mean, yeah, it's all situational. Sometimes, I mean, it is, it depends on like your confidence level as well.
mm-hmm.
Um, because sometimes it's like, I know I got it. I don't have to touch certain numbers. I know when the day comes around, I've got it. So it might just be better, maybe for me, like in terms of let me just stay healthy as much as I can during this time. Because, like we said, it beats you up if you're staying at those high percentages for a very long time. Um,
Mentally and physically.
right. So, yeah, you really just have to be, if you're secure with your knowledge of your own ability, then I think you can kind of drop those percentages way down and kind of just work on a specific thing for a while. Um, but yeah, it's kind of got to be individual, your mindset around it and how you feel.
Yeah, there's um there's a huge psychological aspect to our training and our club that not everyone experiences. If let's say this was just a regular general class, anyone can come. They're not coming as consistently. They come every couple of weeks, or maybe they do come consistently, but there aren't like dates on the calendar. As soon as you put that date on the calendar, everything kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's 6 months out, you're just like, oh man, it's there,
Hmm.
and you want to make sure you're prepared and ready. So yeah, it's just that there's just a different component to it. But maybe that is something we start to go down the rabbit hole a little bit of next year, because I think our competition schedule is going to change. I don't know if anyone's doing the Arnold really at this point. Your eligibility period is up right now. Are you thinking on doing the Arnold?
I don't believe so. I'm kind of very, especially right now for just how my mood is,
Yeah,
I'm very cool with just doing lifting right now. Like
yeah,
I don't want to think about any competitions for a while.
yeah. And I'm wondering too if maybe if it would be healthier for the team to just focus on the regional. Like that's the first one of the year.
Yeah.
Like we come off season and we don't have to essentially be immediately ready. Yeah, because like the beginning of March comes up super fast. We have
Yeah.
January, which is only 4 weeks of the brand new training cycle. It takes a few weeks to get into the training cycle. Then February comes around and you gotta be tapering already. Like it's that's tough.
Yeah.
Um, And I wouldn't really want to start a new training cycle in December. It's just the gym schedule is off because of the holidays. Everyone's personal schedules are off. I think it's just going to continue to be that trend throughout the rest of the year. So I don't know. It'd be weird to start a training cycle in December, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like that would put a burden on everybody because like now you're like I gotta be there.
And the reality is we wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
So everyone would be on like different weeks and missing different days. So yeah.
yeah. That would be tough. That'd be tough. And you know, you made a comment last last class on the off season. You're like like aren't we supposed to be getting out at 7:30 or something like that? What did you say?
Right. Yeah. This is like we're supposed to be like goofing around. Like that's what the end of the year to me is like what did we really do today? Where it's like,
Yeah,
yes, we did do stuff, but it should almost feel like we were just in there playing for like an hour and a half or so. Yeah.
yeah. And you know, I agree. I had a grand vision of the off season training program. But the problem is, if no one's there to do it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What you know that it will all come together and work. And we've had people getting sick, traveling for work meetings, traveling for personal reasons. Soon we're going to have holiday things popping up. So I am going to change it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up the warm up, make it way shorter, and change the format. I think we need to give the sleds themselves time to rest
Right.
because we've been. I think I don't know. Hopefully, we didn't ruin the sleds, but I think they should still be okay. But
Yeah.
just like give that format a rest. The thing that I would use to describe the current training that we've been doing, it's effective but tired.
Hmm.
Like it seems to drag a little bit. And I don't know if that's because there's less bodies in the room. Like the energy's just not there, if that makes sense, when there's just two of you.
Right.
So and then if it's just two of you and we have a full 2 hours and 45 minutes of or not 2 hours, like an hour 45 minutes of workout to do, and we're getting out at 8, it just doesn't feel the same, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think that's also part of it as well. Like I think if we had everyone all of these days, it would feel different. But it's like you said, if there's two, three of us and we have to move these elements and okay, now we're moving from this to this and then let's get this set up and it just feels like
Yeah.
so much.
And by the time we get to the calf raises, for example, on day one, everyone's done. Like I
Yeah.
can see it in the eyes. You're like, "Yep, that's great. We should have been done at the Bulgarian split squats and death marches. That seemed like a finale, and now it's like insult to injury doing 3 sets of 15 on calf raises."
Right.
So, and also I've been considering. I think now we're going to have fuller classes with Alex coming back on Wednesday. Um, he can't come on Monday, so he's coming back. He says officially on Wednesday. Shop is back from vacation. I think Haley's schedule is dying down a little bit. Tanzira is going to be coming back on Wednesdays and Fridays now that she's done traveling for school and you know doing job interviews and stuff like that. Which, by the way, positive news on these interviews that she can share with all of you guys. Uh,
Nice.
so I think, and then Justin's going to be coming. So now that we're going to have fuller classes, the thing that I have to consider is, will we even be able to finish it all? Because if we get all of you together, the more people you have in class, the longer it takes to set things up.
Yeah.
Some of you are coming into this now cold. You have no idea what we're doing, which also slows things down. And then the social element will take over. Oh, you've only done 2 sets because you just wanted to talk because you haven't been here for a month. And now, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's just the nature of it. So what I'm going to do is, I think a shorter warm ups. I would like to get jump roping back involved again. So maybe that's our calf work. You know, we do a shorter warm up, jump roping, some abs, some glute bridges, stuff like that. We do a heavy lift of the day, and then we do more of like a metcon, like there where there's a definitive start and an end, a 15-minute or 20-minute AMRAP of these exercises. You get what you put into it. the goal is to get 3 to 5 sets or so, whatever it might be for that day. It's still the exercises we've been working on, so everyone can have their own stations. But since there is a definitive endpoint to it, it doesn't matter if it took us a little more time to set things up a block for everybody. It will end at this time.
Yeah.
And if you decided to sit down and not work for 5 minutes, that's not on me. That's on you, because Jennifer's been going over there the whole time, getting a round every 3 minutes or so. And Jennifer got 5 rounds. If you got 2 rounds, that's on you. And that means that if we would have been going at more of a open pace, then you would have been behind anyways, and then now the whole group, I don't know, does this make sense the way I'm going to change it a little bit?
Yeah, it can be double-edged. I think with more people, maybe, like let's say we're rotating bench press as we get to our final rounds. Okay, someone starts setting up the next station for what we're about to do. But it is a good point of so many people haven't been there this entire time, so they won't know what to do. So we'll have to reintroduce what the movement is, how to do it. Does this weight work? Because you're just trying it out for the first time. So yeah.
Plus, we've been progressing the weights too, on a lot of these things. So that's kind of my thought on it. And it could even be like, hey, we're gonna do some we're gonna use the ballistic blocks for Bulgarian split squats. But in the warm up, we did a couple sets of hip thrusts using the ballistic blocks. So now like you have it built already, and then it's there for later type of a deal. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking on changing it up, and it might be a little more. I still think people are gonna miss here and there, so I might just be like, hey, we're just gonna do something a little different every time. Like we're still doing like a deadlift, but make it more conjugate style, more West Side style, where you cycle through the exercises more often than like sticking with them for a long period of time.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, even with myself, schedule, I even tell people, like, all right, once States is over, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as it has been for years, is a little bit more loose from, end of October to end of the year. So, yeah. So, you don't want to miss that week 2 of like a 3-week, sumo deadlift or something.
Yeah. Because then you come back into it, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
And so, I think just having more definitive time things, especially for the accessory, essentially strengthen a Metcon. Like we're going to warm up, we're going to do a strength. There's a huge social element to that because it's not very structured. Again, it's like do what you can do for the day, and we have drop sets built into that. We can spend a solid 20 minutes on that. Then get your dumbbells, get this, get that, and then we're going to go for this fixed amount of time circuiting through that. Because I've also noticed a lot of you guys, it's supposed to be like 2 minutes of rest after each of those sets. And a lot of you guys are like we're kind of going AMRAP style anyways, or we got to be in a situation where I have to tell Jennifer, for example, to pace yourself off of another athlete so that you don't get done 10 minutes before everybody. Does that make sense? Because that's also not good. Then it's like, well, one, we shouldn't have gone that fast. We should be resting more, but you guys want to go, or you're ready to go. And I get it. It's the end of the day. You're tired. There's this feeling of like, I want to get it done and go home kind of, but then the other athletes are moving a little slower and need more rest. I think if it's more of like, hey, you got 20 minutes to do what you want to do and get out of this. And then if you need to rest, look at the clock, rest a minute or rest 2 minutes, then go again. And just understand you're going to get 3 rounds. And if you're someone else who's like a little more like I need to feel like I'm moving, move. Yes and yes, both are okay.
Right.
Yeah. We'll try it out. I mean, we did it. We're 3 weeks in, right? This was 3 weeks. So we did it a little more structured 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Now we'll do it this way for a couple weeks. And who knows? Actually, by then it'll be December time. And I think that's when we'll start like some Shankly things. I haven't decided about December. I don't We're not going to do strong. I don't know. Do you want to do strongman again? I don't. I didn't. I wasn't planning
No,
on
we
it.
don't need to take all that stuff out and then put it back in. No.
Yeah. I mean, the shed is organized. It'd be an easy
Right.
take in and out, you know.
Yeah, no,
But is
I
it
think it
fun?
would be
That's my question. You know, is like I also want this to be a little more funner. Like I don't want it to be like, it's dark outside at like 4 p.m. now. You're tired from working all day. It's Wednesday, and you look at what we got to do, and it looks like it's going to take forever because it is going to take forever. And it's like, do I really want to go in and do that? Or when you look at it mentally, you're like, oh, I'm going to go heavy, and then I'm going to work hard for 15 or 20 minutes, and then I'm going to go home. Which is more appealing and which is more fun?
yeah, I think looking at this, it would be more fun to go, okay, here's like a interesting complex that we found on the internet or like one that we know, and that's what we're doing today, and then we'll do like our Metcon type of deal. Then
Yeah.
like, okay, we're going stones again. After a certain point, you kind of understand where you're at with the stones, and you're just like, well, it'll be this weight for
Yeah.
around this many reps. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's only so many jumps we can make on the stone.
Yeah.
Like until then, it's like, okay, you already lifted the 150. The next gap is what, 170 or 75, and you can't cover that 20-pound difference, and we can't modify it at all to do 160.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I get that. So yeah, I think that would be a great idea because it would be nice to start to reintroduce lifting multiple times a week in December to make it not such a jarring thing when we get into January. And maybe it's just like you say, Monday is snatch complexy day. We do a snatch complex, we play around, then we do a circuit of still keeping the accessory stuff going a little more instead of having that go away and being three strongman implements that we're trying to go heavy on. And then if you miss a day, it doesn't really matter, you know,
Right.
because we're going to do something similar on Wednesday. And then Friday's more still of like, what do you want to work on type of a deal. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking tomorrow. I was thinking on fat grips deadlifts, and we can bust out the axles. I would like to start getting some fatty grip where we're trying to keep double overhand grip. Did you read that article on the fat grips?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've ever used fat grips on a deadlift yet though. So
Oh
that'll be
no,
interesting. Yeah.
even the axle,
I've used the axle,
but
but
we
I feel like
normally,
maybe more for cleans.
yeah, yeah, we have continental cleans.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting, and we'll try to keep a double overhand grip as much as possible for like the majority of it, and then of course, maybe last set, all right, slap a little on there, mix your grip. But I think that would be a cool thing to kind of work on some fat grips, deadlifts, work the grip a little bit, and then we'll do a little metcon of our accessory stuff, some death marches, Bulgarian split squats, um, and bent over rows. We'll keep those in the mix. So doing them all together essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll say goodbye to the hip thrust. I think we've taken that as far as we need to. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not really our thing. It just seems like.
It was something to try, you know,
Yeah, that was
and
definitely the first time I've done those, so.
yeah, I and like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, is it going to have lasting results in 6 months or like when we start the new actually weightlifting again? Is that going to get our weightlifting better again? Maybe if we stuck with it in the long term, but I kind of feel like people hate it as well. Like it's not the most fun thing to do, and it seems to me like such a hypersensitive to your body type of movement
Hmm.
where one person is getting benefit for one reason, another person is getting benefit for another reason, but it's awkward for one person versus natural for one person. I don't know. It's like it doesn't seem like a very finicky movement.
Yeah, and I think that's just like I said, like it's not really our thing. Like I feel
Yeah.
like more maybe like more of like a commercial gym, like people spend like time doing just hip thrusts.
Yeah.
for like, and like you said, like with the amount of time that we'll be able to put into it, will it matter 6 months down the road? Like I feel like people do hip thrust like every session for a long time to get
Yeah.
results. And maybe for us, it might not be that the same kind of benefit.
Yeah. Versus like a deadlift.
Yeah.
That will have, like doing different variations, different angles, different grips. That will 100% help us later. We just don't normally do a whole lot of heavy deadlifting during the season because we're already doing so many pulls with just snatches and clean and jerks. And there's also like a thing on recovery from it,
Yep.
and how close it is to competition. If we really, really wanted to push heavy deadlifts on one day, it'd be great if it was a day everyone was super consistent on, but also will it fry us, for other stuff?
Yep.
And it also doesn't work if it's on a day 4 on Saturday and you got to make up day 4 on a Sunday and then roll back into Monday. Like it's just hard to place it, with how our schedule normally is.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe with not doing the Arnold, that would be, we push the deadlift on one day or clean deadlifts, maybe snatch deadlifts. Everyone loves those. Um, during January, then taper them off into pulls in February, and then nix them in March, and then there we go. We're into the thing. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
ways to keep it alive there. I do think snatch deadlifts. That's another thing that should make an appearance that hasn't in a while. Um, we should be working on those. We haven't done that in a while. Um, and sometimes things just get removed because you guys hate them, and I trying to keep the morale up on already mundane thing,
Yeah.
on when it's tough. So okay, so yeah, we'll try it out. We'll make a little switch to the programming. We'll see what happens. Real quick, I'll recap how my swim meet went. I
Yeah.
survived. So that was on November 1st. No, November 3rd.
Yeah.
Sunday, November 3rd. The 50th annual leather stocking swim meet at Hartwick College out towards Oneonta. It was a lot of fun. It was a masters only event. So I joined Masters Swimming, USA Masters Swimming, back in May or June. And immediately I just joined it because I wanted to see the resources, start to explore that community a little bit. And of course, look for a swim meet because that's just part of the culture that I've been involved with. You sign up for weightlifting. Well, when's the weightlifting meet? You sign up for CrossFit. When's the CrossFit event? Like it's just ingrained in me at this point, to like, well, I wonder what they do, and then looking at scores and looking at where the events are. So once I saw that one popped on the calendar for November and it was June, it was kind of like a soft goal, and then eventually I signed up for it. They let you sign up for it a couple days before the event because
Mm.
a swim meet, Miguel, is really laid back compared to what we're normally used to. There's 4 officials, one on each corner of the pool. One of them is in charge of like blowing the whistle and swimmers take your mark. 3, 2, 1, go. Start the clock. There is no announcer other than the very beginning. The meet director gets on the microphone, makes a couple of announcements, tells you where the warm up swim lane is. They had one person who was doing the meet that was on the wall for Hartwick College on the banners because they were a national champion,
Oh
and
wow.
she was back now as a masters swimming. And boy, was her technique good.
Yeah.
She had not done a meet, I guess, in a while, and this was her first meet back. And like her turnarounds, everything that I was just watching the technique. I'm like, yeah, I don't look like that at all. Like I look like I'm in distress every time I'm in the pool, and she's just gliding through nice and smooth. But outside of that, the microphone was not used. There wasn't a medal ceremony. There wasn't a podium. The way the swim meet works is that there's 22 events, all kinds of different distances for all the different styles of strokes. You could do one event. You could do up to 6 events. It costs $6 to sign up for the meet, and then $6 per event. I did 4 events plus the registration. It cost me $30 to do the whole thing, which is way cheaper than anything in weightlifting, even masters, My first weightlifting meet was around $30, $30 to $40. You had to fill out a paper form, put a check in it, mail it to the meet director, and find out weeks later if you were registered for the meet.
Yeah.
Now it's all online. You have to pay all the processing fees, and it's like $300 to do a national event. It's crazy. So that was nice. That made it way easier. I'm like, of course, even if I make a fool of myself for $30, like even if I decide not to do an event, if I'm like, I'm done,
Right.
it was $6, not a big deal. Versus if it had been like $200, I'm like, I got to get in that pool no
Yeah.
matter what. So the cool thing about 22 events is you're kind of doing the swim meet a la carte. Okay, I want to do event 1, event 10, event 15, and event 20, and they're different strokes, different distances. So you can kind of decide how much rest you're going to get based on that, spacing things out with events, which I didn't really put too much thought into that, and that kind of crept up on me at one point. But the way it works too, since there is no ceremony, let's say you decide to do one event, it's event 1, you just do that event and you go home.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not waiting
It's
for anything.
very like track meet, like a track meet back in the day. But you can get also caught in, I guess this is different because it's masters and you're an adult and you can choose your own.
Yeah.
Whereas in like a high school track meet, you might do the first event and then you're also on a relay, which is the last event. So you have to hang around all day the
Oh my
entire
gosh.
time.
That'd be
Um,
brutal.
yeah, but it's essentially the same where you can kind of do as many. It's different because you can do like open, which isn't scored. So you can kind of just do a random thing in the middle as long as you don't like hurt yourself or something. You can kind of just hop in here or there to a degree, especially if
Yep.
they have like kind of the summer. I know Colony High used to have track meets. Um, I also pulled my hamstring at one of those. Um,
This hamstring.
yeah, but yeah, you can kind of just sign up for whatever races they have on the docket, and that's really how it goes. And it's cool because it's efficient. You can sign up for what you want, and then yeah, just leave. Yeah,
I was thinking about this. Do you think that format would work with CrossFit or weightlifting? Maybe more so weightlifting, where you have 10 different barbell lifts and you're only allowed to sign up for a max of 3 of them. But you might be like, all right, I'm really good at the deadlift. I like to snatch and I want to bench press. And you sign up for each of those. And there's a block allotment on when you get to go heavy and do your attempts and a warm up period. Do you think that would work? Like, that'd be a cool event, right? Where you kind of a la
it's
carte do something.
yes, but it's tougher because of the weight classes.
Hmm.
Because at a certain point, you have to go like, all right, that guy did win, but he's 500 pounds and I'm 120.
Well,
Um,
maybe it's based off of Sinclair though. Like there isn't. So I would
yeah,
remove the weight class stuff and be like, hey, here's the 10 barbell lifts. You're allowed to sign up for 4 of them. It costs this much to do the event, $20. Then for $10 per event. So that means you might be paying $60 overall. That's a little under what a normal meet might be, a local meet. And you're going the top 3 is based off Sinclair, and it could also end up being no one but you did the strict press event, but that's the one you wanted to test, and you get your numbers, and yeah, like I don't know, that might be cool, a cool experiment to do.
yeah. Because let's say you're like, oh, my clean and jerk is. I feel like I'm due for like a clean and jerk PR right now, but
Yeah,
like my snatches have not been feeling great. Do I even want to risk going and like bombing out the snatch or not feeling great because of the snatch and then not doing as well in the clean and jerk? So you can just sign up straight up for the clean and jerk and see what you can do.
yeah, I think that'd be cool to
Yeah,
do. I know at the Masters meet that Frank is doing, the Howard Cohen and the America's Cup here in December, they do have a deadlift event, so you can also sign up to do a heavy deadlift.
interesting.
Um, so yeah, I would just remove all the weight classes, provide 10 or 12, however many different barbell exercises. You do a quick brief on the standards. You have one big heat, if you can pull it off, or a men's heat and a women's heat, because the assumption would be that it would be not a lot of people per things unless everyone signs up for the bench press, but then you would just allot time for that. And then you get the top three by Sinclair, men and women win a medal, or not even. Maybe it's just like there is no podium. It's just like a swim
Mhm.
meet. It's like you for your age group and weight class, because that's how it was at the swim meet. There were age groups, just age groups, no weight classes. And I looked, there were only two other guys in my age group, but we weren't all competing in the same events.
Yeah.
So it's possible I took first on something that just no one else did, you
Mhm.
know. So it could also be done that format. But I was thinking about like that'd be a cool thing where, all right, you do want to come in and do your push press. Like it'd be like an official max out essentially.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. Maybe that'd be something cool to do in the summer, something like that. And I don't know if it would necessarily work with CrossFit, just because of the huge array and range of types of events in
Yeah.
events. And yeah, I don't know. It gets a little trickier, I think, with CrossFit. Plus all the equipment and standards. CrossFit's kind of a pain in the butt making events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's so much stuff. So that's why I was thinking barbell, easy, bam, there you go. Uh, so yeah, I did 4 events. I did 50 yards, which is down the pool and back on the freestyle, which is just the front swim, the breaststroke, the backstroke, and then I also did the 100-yard on the freestyle, which for a while I was calling it the front stroke or the front crawl, and then I found out that freestyle is actually the name of the the exercise. I didn't know that because I emailed the one lady. I'm like, hey, is there an event where you can do the front stroke? And she's like, what's that? And I was like, the one where you're on your stomach. When I like, do you mean freestyle? Yeah, that one. So now, see, I didn't even know what it was called because I'm just going to Sakati Center. There's 4 lanes over there, and just going across the pool and what I see on TV, or I think I see on TV, and just trying to exercise. So I'm still learning. Only a week before the event did I start using my arms on the backstroke. Normally, when I go to Sakati, I keep my arms under the water and do kind of like a jellyfish stroke, or at least that's what I was calling it. And I'm like, hey, if I'm signed up for this, I think it might be illegal to not move my arms. So I just started experimenting with it.
Yeah.
And the reason I wasn't using my arms is because I didn't want to get my glasses wet, because I don't put my face in the water, because also I'm wearing my glasses, which a million people, Miguel, told me that I can get prescription goggles because everybody saw that I was wearing my glasses and they're like, hey, did you know? I'm like, yes, I know. That guy just told me that I should get prescription glasses. But the thing is, if I'm not wearing them, I can't see across the pool. I don't know
Right.
what's happening now. And one of my worries was accidentally swimming into someone's lane or touching those plastic ropes that
Yeah.
run down the lanes, because I think that's a DQ. Apparently, you can get DQ'd on a lot of things. Your technique, if you're out of sequence on the breaststroke with your legs and stuff, somehow you can get DQ'd. So I was asking them like, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? And they're like, it's a little more lax because it's a master's event. And I'm like, good answer. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Apparently, though, I was getting DQ'd on all of my events. After my 100 freestyle, I sat down and I was recovering, and the meet director came over. He's like, "Hey, so how'd you like it?" I said, "Yeah, oh, glad to have you. It's a shame that they were DQing you on all the events, though." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I set up correctly. I started in the water for all the events because you can start in the water, on the deck, or up on the what is that thing called?
The
The platform.
board. Yeah.
The push board, whatever it is, the plank. You can start on any of those spots. And I'm like, well, I have not practiced or know how to dive into this pool at all. It would just be a belly flop into the pool and then me recovering and starting to swim. So I started in the water and you get to push off. I touched on both ends. I didn't touch anything on the sides. I didn't stop, and I didn't put my feet on the floor for the shallow end. So I'm like, why am I getting DQ'd? And I wanted to wear compression leggings under my swimsuit. And apparently that is against the rules unless you get a TUE. therapeutic use exemption, which I did. I emailed one of the coordinators, and she's like, I was like, how do I get a TUE? And she's like, I'll just give you one right now. But I didn't know. I thought she would just know this and put it in and tell the meet director guy. So when I got there, neither one of us remembered it. I'm like, I'm cool to go. She didn't tell the referees. And the referees are just people they bring in, and they normally referee kids events. So they're, which, how hard are they on the kids on like DQing kids left and right. So they didn't know. So they were letting me swim, but they were just DQing me every single time. So they went and they fixed it, because I had the email pulled back up in my inbox just in case it was there. So she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell anybody. And I didn't mention it because I thought I was good to go. So I just showed up. And then when I'm walking around, no one said anything to me. They're not like, hey, sir, just so you know, you're not supposed to be wearing those. And then I would have said, oh, I have a TUE. So I'm glad he mentioned it, because I would have left not knowing that I was DQ'd for every event.
Right.
So they fixed it. But boy, was that a surprise when I'm like at death's door, sitting on the bench after the last event, and he comes over all happy, and then he's like, oh, it's a shame that you got DQ'd on every event. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like trying to like catch my breath and get my brain working again to figure out what's going on here. So we did fix it, but they aren't really super as strict as you would imagine at the highest levels on some technique things, which is good. So that's what we need in masters. So that was fun. Like I said, I started in the water. I didn't warm up because it was an 8-lane pool. They had 1 lane for warm-ups, and that lane was packed. And I absolutely hate sharing a lane with someone. Like, I will, if I have, actually, I won't sign up to swim at Sakati Center if only the shared lane is available. And even if the other part of it's an A and a B, if no one is signed up for B, I still will not go, Miguel, for the risk that someone will show up in B, and because now they will either be waiting at the end of the pool for you to get down and back, which I want to go at my own pace, or you will swim together down the lane. No,
yeah.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. I don't even know where I'm going. I have no control. So just even for my own, like, I'll start in the middle of the lane and I'll drift around and whatnot. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to get kicked. I don't want to bump into someone. I don't want to mess up someone else's workout. I just want to just be in my own world for that 30 minutes. So I didn't go into the warm. I'm like, I'll use event 1 to warm up. That'd be my first time in the pool. What I didn't realize is that at the Sakati Center, they have the jets on the pool turned up, facing into the pool. That helps you a lot because there is a current on the pool. Yeah. It's always easier going from the deep end at Sakati to the shallow end than it is coming from the shallow end going down to the deep end. That's what I've noticed. And I think it's because of those little currents. It literally feels like I'm swimming against it going down to the deep end versus going to the shallow end. It pushes me along a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's always more favorable when I'm going that way. At this, the jets are pointing down. And like when I got in the pool, the water was still. It looked like just dead flat water. And I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder why that, like, I literally thought that when I got in there. And then when I started swimming, I was like, oh, I'm doing all of the work now. Like, there's no help. There's no resistance. It's just you have to use your own power to get across the pool.
Yeah.
So again, I only did a couple quad pulls, a couple knee hugs, a couple hammy scoops. And then I got in the water and I started going. And on the way back, my quads were blown up immediately. I was like, oh boy, I hope that goes away. So I got down there. Also, I should rewind a little bit. That competitive thing in my head that I know you have and other people listening have turned on immediately when they said swimmers take your mark. I was planning just to establish times, get down and back, cool, yay, clap. I did it. I was only in the pool with one other guy because the other people from my heat didn't show up, which the amount of people who didn't show up surprised me. They give you a big printout of everyone in each heat. and I would look up. There's supposed to be like 7 people, and there were 3 people there. People were just no-showing like crazy. It's me and another guy. His name is Goran. It's an awesome name, Goran. And he's in his 60s. We're not racing really. But for some reason, there was one other person in the pool. They said, swimmers, take your mark. I tensed up on the thing, and they said, 3, 2, 1, go. And I just went dark and just started swimming as hard as I could down to the other end. Again, on flat water where I'm doing all the work. I turned around. My turnaround game is absolute trash. I have no idea how to do it. Like I'm literally like pausing and floating and turning in space. And like anyone else that would know what they're doing would already be halfway across the pool
Right.
by the time I'm turned around. I grab onto it, I push off again, and which, by the way, when you push off and there isn't a current helping you, you feel like you go nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
like I just pushed off. I'm like, I didn't need to push off that hard. You just did nothing. And then halfway across the pool, my quads blow up, and I realize I'm immediately hypoxic. Like I'm completely gassed off of this. We went way too hard. I got out of the pool. Getting out of the pool, there's no ladder, and the ladders are on the ends, and I'm in the middle lane, and so I'm not able. Like I'd have to take my glasses off, dip under each of those things. It'd take me forever to get. So I'm just climbing out. And after I got out, they're like, do you need help getting out of the pool, or do you know that there's a ladder on the pool? I'm like, I know. So I'm just like climbing out, getting tangled up in wires that are over there. My foot is in the gutter, my shin's in the gutter. I'm just trying. It's a disaster. Me trying to get out of this pool. And also, when I approached it, I'm like, I sure hope I can pull myself out of the pool because I don't want to look like an asshole. Which I did anyways. But like, I'm like, I don't want to like be stuck in the pool now. But I got out of the pool. And then I had a couple of, that was event 7, or no, that was event 10. My next event is until like event 13. So I'm like, all right, I have a little bit of time to breathe and rest now. But the thing is, these are all the short courses. So the people that are doing them for real are going to get them done like that. Like those heats were flying by because there's no setup that needs to be done for the event. You should be getting ready to get in the pool a heat before your event. So they literally just say, all right, thank you, swimmers. Get out of the pool. Next heat, get set, get in your spot, and then they go. The transition time is super fast. They were flying through this meet. So I have a little bit to try to recover my air, and then I'm on the breaststroke. And since I don't put my head in the water and my chest and neck and everything's above the water, I'm kind of swimming vertically through it. And I just recently started to do the frog leg thing on the breaststroke. Normally I would do breaststroke kicking my legs freestyle, like with long legs, flutter kick. So I'm just using my upper body to get across the pool, and again, no help. It's like I'm like my whole upper body is blown out by the time I'm on the way back, and I'm just gassed already from the freestyle. And I get out. I have one heat to rest before the backstroke. So I went to sit down, and immediately I had to get back up to walk over there because there was only one heat for the breaststroke, and then I had to do backstroke. So by the time I get in the pool and I'm doing the backstroke, again, I told myself just go slow, which I didn't listen to that advice on the breaststroke. I went hard on the breaststroke as well as the freestyle. On the backstroke, I just don't have the ability or knowledge how to go fast on that. So I was still kicking hard and moving my arms, but you could probably hear me breathing up in the stands. I was just sucking in air. And when your head is underwater and you can hear yourself breathing, kind of that weird thing. Like so I'm just hearing the whole time. They probably thought I was dying. So I just get through it. And then I have one heat to rest before doing the freestyle 100. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this one because I was completely smoked, muscles, lungs, everything. Metabolically, I was cooked. And then they're like, all right, time for the 100. And guess what? It's me and Goran again. The other people didn't show up. I get in the pool for the 100, and I'm telling myself, James, you have to go slow. It's 100 now. You cannot go fast. You're not going to make it. So I just paced myself off of Goran because he was just I mean, he's doing it probably the way you should be doing it. And so I'm just pacing myself to him. I'm not trying to beat him. Like I'm not anything. And I'm literally looking to see where he is and just staying where he was. I made it through the first 50. The second 50, Miguel, that's when like the thoughts of like, don't quit or you might have to quit started to get into my brain. You ever do that in a workout?
Yeah.
Does that happen to you anymore? Has that ever happened to you in a race?
Now, maybe not in a race, but it's like, yeah, there are like movements where if you stop, like almost like your body's momentum is just carrying you along, and if you stop, you do like a weird like almost sidestep that feels
Yeah.
wrong, and you're like, I'm done with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so done. So done. When it came time to turn around for the second 50-yard stretch of the 100, I was like, oh boy. Like I was like the pool looked like it was a million miles now. Like, and I just started to float across it, which again, I don't have any help to float. Like those jets at the Sakati Center really help you a lot. And when I did my testing, like back and forth, I didn't realize that I was getting a lot of help to get across the pool. So
Right.
when I put in like my projected numbers, I'm like, yeah, that was a good time and everything. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And I had like training wheels on. And so now I got a reality check in this pool. I made it across the first 50 on the second leg. And then coming back, like you start to get like that hazy feeling over your eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could pass out in the water right now. Like, and as I was going across the pool, not only am I gasping for air, I'm starting to get to the point where I feel like I can't take any air in. And all I want to do is breathe. And I was like, if I was just in the pool by myself, there wasn't an event, people watching me, I would have just flipped over on my back and just coasted to the far end, or I would have just stopped and went back and got out of the pool. But now I have to finish.
Yeah.
Like I can see the finish line, and I of course I want to keep going. I don't want to get out of this pool and then be driving home and be like, well, you should have finished. You should have tried to finish. I didn't want any of that stuff to happen. But every breath I took, you breathe out and you feel the water compress your torso. And now you can't take in as big of a breath on the next one. Like, so I'm literally suffocating on the last 25 yards to get through. And that's when like I realized I understand drowning now. I understand how it could happen, how like a panic could start to sweep you in the water and what the water does to you. Like when being exhausted in the water is scary. Like if I was running a 5K or like, hey, James is going to do a marathon, I would have been walking at this point. Like I
Yeah.
would have been walking or I would have stopped at this point and just like put my hands on my knees. But you can't do that in the water, and that's when you start to panic. Like I was starting to panic a little bit, like, but I'm like, keep it together, don't let them see see what's happening on the inside. And wow, I can't imagine the fear of being in open water and feeling that and realizing there isn't an end to the pool. The only thing that kept me going is that I know I'm getting closer to the other end, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
um, and also I didn't want to, I'm like, don't make the referees, because there isn't a lifeguard. I don't know who's supposed to jump in the water if you have an issue. I did not see an official lifeguard, which means one of those referees in their khaki shorts and their shoes and their polos and stuff would have had to jump in. Someone would have had to jump in and come get me, So I'm like, nope, we're not going to be that guy at the 50th annual leather, one of the oldest meets in the country, Miguel, apparently, second to like Masters Nationals. They've been doing it forever. Like, nope, not going to make him come get me. So finally, I get to the other end, and now I have to get out of the pool. Oh boy. I'm like already feeling like that like lightheaded blackout thing. I'm gassed. I'm just trying to breathe. I hoist myself out of the water. My arms are burning. My thighs are burning. Core is fine. I noticed that. I didn't
Hmm.
feel the abs at all. It was just the extremities, of course, were completely blown out. It felt like Fran in the water, where I don't know if you've ever felt this for you yourself, but on the round of 15 after the thrusters, reaching your arms up to go to the pull-up bar, you start to feel your delts and everything, and your arms
Yeah.
feel jello. You know this feeling, right?
Hmm.
That's what I felt like every time trying to claw myself through the water. Now I have to get out of the pool. Remember, this has been difficult the entire meet. So I max effort myself up on it. And you know how like at the you'll see the whales at SeaWorld beach themselves up on the top. You just got to
Right.
get your belly up on it. I did that.
Yeah.
I just flopped onto it. And I will say at the pool, I am a huge germaphobe. I have my flip flops. My feet are not touching the deck of the pool unless I'm at the very end about to get in the water. And I don't want to have to put my hand on the floor, all this stuff, because water, everyone's feet, it
Yeah.
skeeves me out a little bit. This is not the best situation for me to be in for a sport. Like, at least in weightlifting, it's different. But I didn't care. At that point, it was all survival. I'm like just sprawled out on the deck. I finally get up. And then the first thought in my head is, don't fall back into the pool. Because when I stood up, my legs were complete jelly, and I could feel myself leaning back a little bit and like gasping for air. And I just gripped on to the push board with all the strength I had left because I could have easily fallen back in the pool. And again,
Yeah.
I did not want that to happen so badly that all the strength I could muster came from every inch of my body. It's just my brain saying, "Don't embarrass yourself." And
Yeah.
and then I just lunged away from the pool. I'm like, get the hell out of here, you know. And then I went and recovered, and I'm like, you're done. And I was so glad I didn't have another event. I signed up for 4 events, and then someone told me during the meet, they're like, "Oh, it's your first meet." Normally, beginners and first timers do 1 or 2 events. And I'm like, "Thank you for telling me that." No one said that. No one told me this. It didn't say
Yeah.
anywhere on the entry form, if this is your first time, just do one. If it's your first time, don't do the 500 yard. Because remember, I told you I almost signed up for the 500 yard, and I was like, "How long does that take people to do?" Everyone under 10 minutes. It would have took me probably 25 minutes to do. And I asked the lady when I was signing up, "Is there a time cap for any event?" And she's like, "Nope, it finishes when you finish." I would have been just coasting, dying, trying to survive through the pool, and I'm holding up the whole meet. I was so glad I didn't sign up for the long events. That's why when I saw 50, I was like, yes, that sounds good. Down and back once.
Right.
So yeah, it's done. I've done it. I'm happy I did it. Mission multi-sport athlete is well on its way. I'll do another one in March. I think the weekend before the 80K regional, there'll be a swim meet. I'll do that one, and then I'll meet direct at the swim meet. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah. I think you're going to need those goggles.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes,
that's a big issue on just
it
how you're
is.
feeling, like extremity wise. Like if you're able to get under, I think that'll help a lot.
Like swimming with your
Right.
body of elevated like this, because like one of the guys, he's like, when you're swimming, the water is pushing against you and you're
Yeah.
coming through it instead of like going, like two
Like I
pieces
can't
of paper
imagine
sliding.
doing a breaststroke without ducking under.
Yeah, it's it's easier at the Sakati Center, which has been my experience in dead water. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Like I felt like I just did like a whole upper body workout. Like I had a pump after that. I was like, man, look at my arms right now. But it wasn't just like my biceps and stuff. It's the forearms. It was my delts all across my chest, little things connecting into my sternum. Like I was just completely gassed. And then on the freestyle, that's like all like the lats. I could feel that
Right.
on the lats. I was sore in the days after that in all these muscles. I was like, wow, I normally don't feel that. But I guess in a general public pool, having those jets there makes sense.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but in a competition, that just makes what you see at the Olympics even more impressive. Holy shit! Like I didn't realize that the water is just flat when Kate Ledecky is doing all this stuff, or
Yeah.
Michael Phelps. That's insane. It was already incredibly impressive to me. And now having experienced it, I was like, I don't even know. Like they would be done. It took me, I think, a minute. I don't know my official times yet, but I want to say a minute 40 to do the breaststroke down and back. And these people, who are pros and also way taller and longer limbed than I am are doing it in less than 30 seconds. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Which I did see some of that. Two cool things I saw were on the relays. Let's say if you and I are a relay team, you'd be swimming, finishing up your leg, and I'd be on the jump board, and then I would jump over you
Yeah.
as you touch to get into the pool. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like I would jump and land on my part. Like I would just jump and immediately go right down. It was like weightlifters, we sink. Like, and I don't feel like I would jump that far. So I would need to make sure you are well out of the way before I tried to jump into the water. So seeing that was really cool. Seeing people jump perceivably almost half the length of the pool and then swim and come back was crazy. Um, Seeing some of the taller guys do the backstroke, that like four forearm movements and they're across the pool. Meanwhile, I'm like flailing and like we're kicking it as hard as we can.
Yeah.
The height definitely helps you. Holy cow! Like just seeing it, which I knew that already, but like I've it's one thing to see it on YouTube or TV, but I've never witnessed a swim meet before. So to be there and seeing people move through the water and being like, wow, that's pretty crazy how fast they do it. It was cool.
Nice.
And like I said, they are all different timed events. They finished with like the mile events, the 1600 meters, the 1800 meters, stuff like that. And by that point, everybody was gone, and there were only two people doing it. So they were just going. It
Yeah.
was cool being able to touch the touchpad. So seeing the electronics or that's equipment in the water and like getting an official time. And not only that, they had all the kids there. So the whole college swim team was there and they were in charge of timing. So
Yeah.
you had your touchpad, and I think they had a camera or something facing the pool. So if they had to go back, if they had multiple fail safes in case your time got lost,
Yeah.
or there's a technology malfunction. You were supposed to start touching the wall, hit the thing. You're supposed to touch the other wall, which there's another pad down there to give you your split times. So you touch down there, and then they have the kids behind you who are timing you with a stopwatch, and they have a piece of paper where they're going to write down what your finish time was. At the other end of the pool, the shallow end, for the longer races, there were people that had a plastic lap counter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what they would do is they put it in the water so you could see a 1 or a 2 or a 3, and just before you're about to touch, they pull it out. And then every time you're coming down the shallow end, they put that in to let you know what lap you're on.
Yeah.
Because it's I've experienced this swimming at Sakati. You after a while, you're like, what lap am I on? And then you're like, crap, now I don't know how many I did today because you just forget. And there's like no easy way to count it. If you count 1, 2 every time you go across the pool and just chop that in half, at some point, if it's long enough, you just forget like where was I? Because you
Yeah.
start to daydream too, when you're just swimming back and forth for a lot of laps. So it's cool to have that there because people might want to adjust their pace on some of those. Maybe towards the back end. All right, I'm supposed to do 10 laps on the 500. I'm on lap 8. I'm going to start to pick it up now or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see the inner workings of another sport and just to witness it. So, and it gives me dates, like we said, to put on the calendar. Like, okay, you have to be doing stuff to be ready for this thing. And now that I have official scores, of course, I want to get better at them and I want to try other events. So now that I know what I know, I'll definitely start to train more for it in March, at the end of March. Just have a goal on the schedule because you want to be an athlete, right? It ties into all aspects of your life. You definitely experience this. If you have a date on the calendar, you start to think about your nutrition, your sleep, your training way differently.
Yeah.
If there's no date, then all right, if I have a month of just doing whatever and being lazy with things, it doesn't matter as much. You don't have to be ready. And this one, there was a little bit of that. I was kind of coming into this meet off of a hard work season of states and going to California to prep for the level 4 and just all that stuff. but I wanted to do it to get establishing times and just to force myself to do something outside of the CrossFit weightlifting world for mental clarity,
Yeah.
But now that I have scores that I want to improve upon, I can treat myself differently because it's like, well, now this is important. Of course, you want to do the 50 faster, and maybe eventually get up to jumping in the pool. That's a whole other thing. And that's harder because they don't allow you to do that at Sakati Center.
Hmm.
There's no diving into the pool, so I don't know how I can get that part going, so to say. Which they have them there. Why do they even have them there if you're not allowed to get up there and jump on them? Because they don't have races either or events. They only have 4 lanes. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know.
Maybe it's just part of building a pool, or they've used them in the past. But my my plan would be to ask, hey, um, can I maybe if I work with a coach, because they do lessons. If I pay for a lesson, will you let me will you teach me how to do it? One, and then we can use it then. I think
Right.
that'd be a good,
Yeah, I
but
think they're probably just worried about like the free use and yeah, right.
yeah, people doing dumb stuff. So you have to have a blanket. No one can do this, type of a deal. Um, because you're not allowed to use snorkels either. You can use flipper fins. And now I'm starting to dive into the world of that. That's actually equipment you would use to get your regular swimming better.
Yeah.
Like you would use the flippers so you can focus more on your pulls for the upper body. Don't have to worry about your legs. You would use the kickboard to use just your legs and take the upper body out of the equation. That's stuff that I would like to start to get into my training. Like today's a flipper day because I'm working on this. Today's a kickboard day because I'm working on that. Versus just I kind of just get in the pool and wing it. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll do a couple backs, I'll do a couple fronts. There's no rhyme or reason. So I need to find a program to do as well. The problem with that is the programs. Like when I look at them, I look at the warm up and I'm like, that's my whole. Like I only have 30 minutes. That's my 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did see how we have in CrossFit slips for gymnastics.
Yeah.
What is it? Scales, L sits, inverted, planks, and stretching. They have skips for the
Hmm.
pool, which is I'm still trying to find a definitive explanation of what each of them are and like what you would do on them. But one of them it just says swim. All right, what do you mean by that? Swim, kick, which that's when you'd use the kickboard. Skip. The I is something with the medley, where individual medley, where that means you do 25 one stroke, 25 another stroke,
Yep.
25 the third stroke, which I don't know the butterfly. We don't know that one either. So we're out of that event.
Yeah, that
Um,
one you would need to get under. There's no other
yes.
way to do it.
Yes. And you'd need to get under and you would need to know how to breathe, which I
Yeah.
don't know. So I have no idea how to breathe in the pool other than just suck in air through my mouth. Um, the P is pulls, and that I think is more upper body on pulling your arms. And then the final S is swim again. So I figure it said in the example 200 of each. And again, I'm like, that's my whole workout. But
Hmm.
that might be a day to where my whole goal is just to do the skips. Now that's my workout for the day. Just like on a given day here, I might do slips. I'm going to work on my scales, work on my L sits, stuff like that. So it's actually a lot of fun learning about the programming for that. And I want to see if I can learn some things from swimming that I can pull back for CrossFit and maybe even weightlifting training.
Yeah.
Like I was already thinking about, it's kind of cool that gymnastics and swimming, which also CrossFit because we steal slips, have these specific warm ups. I wonder if we can have one for weightlifting, kind of a deal where it's like it spells a word, but it means all these things.
Yeah.
Although I would say in CrossFit, ours is more officially the CrossFit warm up. That specific thing versus slips is more of a gymnastics warm up,
Yeah.
and then we have skips uh for swimming. I don't know. We don't really have one for weightlifting, right? Like I guess we have like our general warm up, but this seems like still a little more different.
Yeah. I feel like weightlifting, people do a lot more individualized. type of warm-ups.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to brainstorm a weightlifting specific one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. So yeah, that was the experience with that. I lived. I lived.
Yeah.
I tried something new. I accomplished and set some benchmarks, and we're gonna do another one because this team doesn't have any quitters. So it's I'm not going to walk away from that experience and be like, oh, I felt like I was dying. I'm not going to do it. Of course, I'm going to do another one. Like I
Yeah.
got to do another one. And if I do one in the spring, one in November, that's plenty of competitive swimming that I need to do. And then if I add in a weightlifting meet here and there or something else, I would like to do the Open in 2025. So there's my CrossFit event. That's as far as we need to push CrossFit, you know? Um, and then, yeah, I think that's, remember, the ultimate goal is multi-sport athlete,
Right.
right? So, and I don't know if a powerlifting meet would be cool to do. I haven't done one of those in, oh my God, 10 years, a really long time. So I just think that's fun. Do you have any multi-sport athlete goals for yourself?
Um, no, not exactly. I think overall what I've been doing is just trying stuff. So as things
Yeah.
come up, um, I think I might want to do a on my own terms, a CrossFit event sometime next
Mhm.
year. Maybe one of the local ones that people do, but
Individual or team?
it'd be partner, like probably male female pairs, and I will do scaled.
Hold on now. Can Miguel Porter, because all right, like you've made comments before about being on a team, and if your partner isn't doing this thing on, it would be, not the best because there's competitive Miguel. Do you think this would work out? Like, because like if you were to have told me, I would have assumed individual because it's all on you type of thing.
Well, that's the thing, because with I'm already doing the open. That's enough.
Yes. Yeah.
Doing like an actual competition, like one day type of thing, I think I would need. I think I need it to be male female pairs because I'll be a lot nicer, and then scaled so that I can just kind of again like
Yeah.
kind of just do it. Because I mean, a CrossFit event is so long and
Yes.
so much that I think I need like a low barrier to start.
Yeah, I would agree. When you said team, and then you said male female, my mind went automatically to, oh yeah, it can't be another guy. It
Yeah,
can't be
no,
Mike. It
it
can't be
can't
you,
be.
you and
It
Mike.
can't be.
You and Mike, or you and Schaff at a CrossFit event on a team, RX or scaled, I think means ending in burned bridges and potentially relationships.
Yeah,
Maybe not, but like we're like pushing that way, if that makes sense.
I
You
think
know?
it's like okay, after we're done, we're not talking at least for the rest of definitely not the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that might seep in. Could that even seep in event to event? Like there's a snafu on an event, and then you're not talking for another event. Or
yeah, because there's so much that goes into it of like, okay, here's how we're gonna break it up while we're going. Something feels good, so you're like, I'll do a couple more, or maybe you have to break, so it's like, all right, let's change the plan. But then you want to make up for what you had to break on earlier, and then things just get all,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah,
and this is for anyone listening. We are talking about a very specific person. We are talking about competition, team competition. Miguel Porter. He's a different guy than Coach Miguel, other Miguel individual. Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
this is we're talking about this person. We have multiple personalities. Remember, I had a plan. Regular James had a plan for the swim meet. Competitive James changed the plan completely, and then I had to beg competitive James to slow down during the meet.
yeah.
Like we have these people in our brains, that come out in certain situations. So I completely understand it. I think it makes sense. Who do you think you tap for a partner?
I have a friend that goes to Shatter. Um,
Okay.
she's been doing CrossFit for I don't know. Maybe it's been like close to 2 years now.
Okay.
So I keep on letting her know, like when they have like a male female competition, I'll do scaled with you.
Okay. I like
But
that.
yeah, that's essentially it.
Does does it have to be teams of two? Like, does
Yes,
the ugly side of Miguel come out if it's male, male, female, female?
yes. I think it has to be teams of two, especially because of like I know what my relationship with her is, where I'm like, we can do that.
Yeah,
I can still like, and if it's scaled, I can still like kind of coach you as we're going through it. I know
that's
like
what I
if
was
I
thinking.
need to pick up slack, like I'll do that and it'll be fine. Yeah, a team of four, I'm like, that's too much going on.
Yeah,
I don't want to do anything synchro, like really, really synchro
yeah,
or, you know, so yeah.
yeah. I can see that, and I see what you're saying. Where if it's you and another person, you're competitive Miguel, but you're also kind of wearing like a Miguel coaching hat because you're like you're coaching the team. Your partner's going, and you're like, "Hey, hold on for another rep," or "Hey, oh, pull your chest up." You can keep ultra competitive Miguel down a little bit by
Right.
letting Coach Miguel, while you're resting, be the present alter. You have different alters, so when you're not going, when you're doing your burpees, that's competitive Miguel. Oh
Yeah.
man, he's coming out with fire in his eyes. But then when you're resting, Coach Miguel's out like, "Hey, you're doing a great job."
Yeah.
All that stuff. I can see that. Oh wow. Oh, I never thought about it like that before. Different alters uh, for our multiple personalities within ourselves in some of these situations. Does your competitive Miguel alter? Um, wait, is there multiple competitive Miguel alters? There's toxic competitive Miguel alter and then just competitive Miguel, or are they all one and the same?
I don't know. It depends. I feel like I haven't needed like super, super competitive Miguel in a while. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like circumstances have always kind of worked out so that I don't need to go that hard.
Yeah,
Like I'll definitely be gunning for something, but I know like in reality, like in weightlifting, where I'm like, all right, this we're not that close, or like we're completely different weights. So that's whatever. And
yeah.
then like in the open, I'll go for a time, but I'm not a CrossFitter, I guess I would say. So like I'm okay with going like, all right, they got me. I can't breathe,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna stop. But yeah.
That was gonna be my question. Which one comes out in weightlifting? So this is just regular. Well, actually, there's probably like competitive Miguel who understands his circumstances within the event. There's straight up competitive Miguel. There's the dark side of competitive Miguel, which is when like the stakes are real or you're really trying to win. Like which one comes out during weightlifting? It's probably the regular one or the understands what's going on one, right?
I think that's more regular, the weightlifting one. I think
Okay.
if I got back into CrossFit, that's like the dangerous one.
Yeah.
Because if I like feel comfortable during a workout, I'll fully race somebody and like look over at them to let them know that I'm racing them.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not there in CrossFit currently, so I can't really do that.
All right. So maybe there's four competitive Miguel alters. There's laid back competing Miguel alter who is going with the flow. All right. This is what we can do today, type of deal. All right. We're lifting different weights, all that stuff, right? Then there's actual competitive Miguel. This is prime Miguel. We're trying to win. We've got a good attitude, all that stuff. There's dangerous competitive Miguel who will push himself individually to a dark place if he's looking over at other lanes, seeing what other people are doing. And then there's maybe, just to put a word on it, toxic competitive Miguel, who you're in a competitive environment with another person and you're taking elements of extreme dangerous Miguel and putting it on that other person. And maybe it's going to affect the relationship, because if they don't do what that Dangerous Miguel needs them to do, we're not talking for a few days, kind of a deal.
Yeah, there's like dangerous and toxic, I guess, is the same guy of like, I guess from a competitive standpoint, I'm going somewhere that I don't know if I can make it, but I'm also trying to bring you to a place where you'll probably break as well.
Yes.
And then,
And,
yeah,
and the
within a
difference
team,
between dangerous and toxic is the inclusion of another person
right? Yeah, yeah.
or multiple persons.
Hmm.
This is why we couldn't, or like why a group dodgeball may not have been the best idea, because now, that Dangerous Miguel is going to come out during it, but now you have Dangerous Miguel has to now rely on 11 other people, and he may not
Yeah,
like that.
correct.
Okay. This is cool. Have you ever thought about this before?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Okay. Wow. We need to do a deep psychological. We need to get like a psychiatrist or someone on here to unpack all the different types of competitive Miguel. Because this is only competitive Miguel. There's other Miguels too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. If you're listening, think about your own inner altars, and if you have as many for Miguel, I don't know for myself. I feel like competitive James is normally laid back James. I don't think I have a toxic. There's not a toxic competitive James. Like I'm just happy to be on a team with someone. Like I
Mm,
like yeah, yeah. So I don't think I have that one. I do have a dangerous James, which showed his face at the swim meet when we were blacking out in the pool because of what we did in earlier events. We didn't need to do that. We didn't want to do that.
right.
But he came out, and all he needs to hear is take your mark, 3, 2, 1, go. Um, that James didn't really come out at the state championships because I just wanted to do it. The only yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's Dangerous James trying to compete with Chris Smith, getting a kilo over, that type of a thing, getting mad before the lift just to push the bar past my wrist. I don't know if that's Dangerous James or if that's a regular competitive James.
Yeah.
There's probably like a flow between them. I think in weightlifting, it might change lift to lift, honestly.
Mm,
I think in the beginning, we were laid back. We're just happy to be here, happy to do it again. But then when the idea of beating Chris got in my head, we started to lean more towards Dangerous James. And he's like, yeah, good idea. You don't need your wrist, or, kind of a deal. Or, yes, we want to
right.
beat him, type of a deal. But I think I have laid back, competitive, dangerous, if these are the categories. But I don't have that darker place of going, if you add another person in and they're not doing what Dangerous James would like them to do so we can win.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think it's because winning ultimately isn't always that important in my mind for me. But then again, you compete way more than I do in a lot of things. So who knows? Maybe that could change over time. But yeah, I don't know. I think coach competition, James, doing the event is always there a little bit. There's a cap to it, you know, because my coaching hat is bigger than my athlete hat.
Mm,
So it covers the toxic element of it. Does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah.
Um, if we're on a team together, I'm still going to, even though you may not talk to me, I'm still going to try to talk to you. So yeah, it's a fun thing to think about. A fun thing to think about. All right, cool. Well, good talking to all four of you today, Miguel.
Yeah.
In there, any closing thoughts on competing, weightlifting, having different alters, trying new things? Are you going to try any new things in 2025? You did a gymnastics class. One thing I've been thinking about that I thought would be all right. Here's a different element of toxic dangerous James. I would like to try and start to get into like something like jujitsu. I think so. Here's where James is coming from. I had about 2 or 3 years of not being able to do anything, which really sucks, and having to look from the outside in as people were doing things. Now that I'm more active again, I have this attitude of, well, why wouldn't I try it? Right? Like, it's what if you lost the ability, let's say Miguel, to walk for a couple years, you would now, and then you gain the ability back, you'd have a greater appreciation of going out to do things. And then you would just start trying things, right? Because
Right.
you have freedom again. So I have like a short list of things that I think would be cool to try. I would like to try archery, like going to a range with a bow and like doing that kind of a stuff. I think that'd be cool to experience at least once or twice. It does seem like a pricey hobby to have because you have to buy the bows and stuff. But I thought about that. That might be cool. I also thought about, it would be cool to learn like self defense stuff because I've taken karate classes in the past, but like jujitsu seems like the big one that's out there. But then like safety, James, is like, hold on now. I don't know if your joints can take someone pulling on your neck or your knee or other things. So that's the concern with that. I don't know.
Right.
Like I'm literally putting my body that has been through a lot in someone else's hands. And then I hear the stories of some people are idiots at some of these things. And, I just don't know if I want that. Although I am interested in the sport. So do you have any other, and I've already got into swimming, track and field? No, no. We can go run, but I don't think that's, although maybe different events, maybe learning how to throw a shot put, stuff like that. Hurdles, probably not. We don't got the legs for that. But like experiencing new things. So do you have anything that's kind of in the back of your head that like, hey, 2025, I think I might want to add this in?
Nothing specific at the moment. Maybe doing like some sort of triathlon training, not with no kind of official want to compete in it or do it,
Mhm.
but just the general training perhaps. But yeah, we got to see how the year goes and what things pop up because some things, yeah, just pop up and you go for the opportunity. So yeah,
Okay. So like a triathlon, like a mini or something, like kind of like what Abby and Maria did, right?
yeah, but maybe not even like in order to compete, maybe just to add that kind of training in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just get on a bike.
yeah,
And okay. Yeah. That's down the list for me. I can't ride a bike. I've never been able to ride a bike. So maybe at 38 or 39, however old I am, might be might be time to start, to do that. Um, yeah. What do you think about jujitsu?
for you, yeah, I don't know, that's risky.
It does seem risky, right? I
Yeah,
come in one day and my arm is just hanging there. I would have to have way more confidence in my joints, you know.
right.
Um, I do think it would be cool to like. I'm sure they have self drills where you can like roll and do stuff, but again, like for me to trust another person to do things, that's a big ask. I
Yeah,
feel. So I don't know. I
yeah, I
think,
just feel like you wouldn't be able to get out the most out of it
yeah,
because I think everyone else would have to be like wary of that stuff.
yeah, yeah, and beginner and like but then and then my not a fear, but it's like I know me. All right, we start doing it, we really like it, and then it's like, oh, there's a beginners meet on the schedule. Let's go out there. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Go out there, get your butt kicked. You know, it is one of those things I think is important for a person to do. And you would learn things about yourself, right?
Yeah,
Right, because most of my like wrestling with another thing is not against another person. It's been against like an implement, a
mm,
barbell, a dumbbell, and then myself, water. So it would be interesting to like fight another person like that, but in a controlled thing like that.
yeah,
Yeah. And I do like jujitsu because you're on the ground, right? And it's mostly grappling and holds. Correct. See, I don't even know a whole lot about it.
right. I mean,
It's not MMA. We're not kicking. We're not
no,
striking.
but it doesn't always have to be on the ground. Like you start
Yeah.
standing up and eventually you might end up there. And that is honestly my thing of like sometimes all it takes is to fall wrong. Not even what the other person did. You just fell awkwardly.
Yeah. So yeah, I got to get back in the burpees first, and like self falling, which that's the benefit
Yeah.
of the burpee, right there. So okay, yeah. It's in my mind. Maybe that's more of a 2026 James thing. It's like 2025. We keep swimming. We get back into CrossFit. We do another weightlifting meet. We find another obscure sport. We do some archery. We channel our inner Katniss Everdeen type of deal. Feel badass with a bow. And maybe that turns into hunting James. See, there's all kinds of different routes.
Right.
Next thing you know, taking a butcher's class would be cool. Learning how to like butcher your own meat. That's I'm sure they have those. So yeah, there's all kinds of things to do, Miguel. All kinds of things to do. So, but you yourself, you wouldn't do any kind of a martial arts like that.
Not on the docket now.
Mhm.
Again, like as things come up, we'll see. But
Yeah. Is this something you think about as you? Like, how old are you?
27.
Oh, you got so much time. All right. Well, as you get into your master's years, there's so many master's things where it's like you don't you don't got to worry about like competing against like a guy that's 21.
Right.
Like if we're doing jujitsu, I would like want beginner, as intermediate, or I mean as low barrier beginner as possible. And then like where's the masters event? Like a guy my own age who his knees also hurt. But like the 21-year-old, 18, like no, don't even look at me. We're not
Right.
doing that. Like because also you're trying to go fast, you're pulling on my neck. Like at least this guy's like, yeah, oh yeah, my elbows hurt too. Okay, good. I understand you. So okay. Yeah, things to think about. Cool. All right. Any closing thoughts on this whole thing?
No. I think we got it.
Awesome. Well, I will see you tomorrow for Barbell Club. We'll have a new spin on what we're going to do. So I'll see you then. Hopefully, we'll see. Shaf is back from Japan, so Shaf will be there. We'll get to hear all about Japan, so that'll be fun. And in the meantime, I will talk to you then.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Another good
Thank
talk.
you.
Have a good rest of your Sunday, Miguel.
Yeah. Thank you too.
Later. End stream. Boom.